Hello. Today I'm going to teach you how to put an in-text footnote citation into your research paper. This is for folks who are doing the research paper option for History Fair. You want to have your paper, you want to have your annotated bibliography or whatever bibliography you're kind of working towards. And another handy thing that I also always like to have open when I'm doing this sort of work is the Chicago Manual of Style Quick Guide. So take a moment to organize yourself accordingly. Um, and this is what I would do. So I want to start with my annotated bib, right? And I just want to show you a couple of things in here. First of all, you want to group your sources by primary sources and secondary sources. And then within each of those two divisions, you want your sources to appear in alphabetical order. So in this case, for my primary sources, Stanley Field's Private Papers comes first because Field comes first alphabetically, then Hoffman. This is a book written by Malvina Hoffman, right? So if I actually happen to have this book, I'm going to cite it this way. And then I have a photograph that doesn't have a listed author. So I'm going to use the title instead. So that would come third in this section. The other thing you want to make sure that you're doing in terms of formatting is for your citation follows sort of the opposite formatting of a paragraph. So in a paragraph, hopefully we've trained you at this point to indent, hit the tab key to indent the first line of your paragraph. But in a bibliographic citation, it's actually the opposite. And the way you do this, you want to create what's called a hanging indent. And the way you do this in Google, if you're using Google Docs, is you highlight the section you want to indent, go up here, see this little kind of blue triangle and bar, and you're going to drag it over. I just want to indent it a little bit. I only want to indent it to 0.25 inches here. And you'll see when I drag it, it moves the whole thing over. The way I'm going to make it a hanging indent is I'm going to move my cursor just over this little blue rectangle where you can see it says first line indent, and then move that back to 0. And you'll see the first line moves back. It is just one of those conventions. I think the purpose of this is to help you see the breaks in between sources if you're looking at a big, long bibliography. Something that maybe looks like this, right? It's going to help you see kind of where one citation ends and the next one begins. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. You want to have your list of sources kind of up and running before you add your citations to your paper, because all of the information that's in here is what you are going to move into your final paper. So I also have my paper open here. Let's say I've written a whole bunch, and this is the very last page of my whole paper. I'm actually just plagiarizing myself here. I'm not plagiarizing, I'm borrowing from myself. This is a paper that I wrote in college. And I happen to have it handy, so I wanted to just use it to show you kind of what these footnoted citations should look like. So let's say I've gotten to the end of my paper. I'm getting ready to just kind of polish it all up, add my citations. One thing I do want to remind you of is your paper should be double spaced. So you want to do that in Google Docs. You highlight the whole thing, and then you come up to this little toolbar at the top, and you can see the button that says line spacing. You can kind of find it easily because it has 3 lines and then arrows, like as if you're making it larger or smaller, the space between the lines. See how it works? And you're just going to choose double spacing. Immediately your paper just got a whole lot longer. Huzzah. This is, again, it's a kind of a standard convention for writing a research paper. And the reason why we do this is that in normal times, in the before times, when you were turning in a paper to a professor, let's say in college, or a teacher in high school, that person is most likely going to be grading it by hand. If your paper is single spaced, it's very hard for your reader or the person who's giving you a grade to kind of make their marks in the paper. Double spacing just gives a little bit of breathing room around certain lines. So if they want to come in here and highlight something or underline it or circle it or draw question marks or whatever it is that they want to do, it gives them a little bit more space. Again, it is an older convention, but it is the convention. And so I want you to be aware of it so that you can use it in your own work. Okay, So let's say I've got a quote in here, and I've made a little note to myself that I need to add a citation, and I can't quite even remember what this is that I'm looking at. So I want to go back to my annotated bib and sort of find the source in question. In this case, it is this book. Also just going to update my hanging indent here while I'm at it, right? Just kind of cleaning everything up. And so the easiest way to do this, there are two ways to do it, the easy way to do it and the correct way to do it. For the purposes of this assignment, I'd like you to try to do it the correct way, but if you only are able to do it the easy way, it's not going to be the difference between a 3+ and a 4, okay? If you are footnoting your citations in good faith, you're going to be fine in terms of grading for this assignment. But because this is a skill that, particularly if you are planning to go to a college or a university where you're expecting to write more of these sort of papers, and there are classes for which this will be the only thing that determines your grade, right? This paper that I wrote, it's for a year-long class. This paper is, I don't know, 46 pages long. It was my single grade for the entire class was this paper. So you want to be prepared for this if this is in your academic future. And that is kind of the purpose, one of the purposes of the History Fair assignment. So I always like to check the Chicago Manual Style Quick Guide just to make sure that I'm doing it right. And in this case, for this particular citation, I'm going to be citing a chapter that's within this book. And you'll notice here that the note and the bibliography are ever so slightly different. There's two sort of main differences. The main difference is that in the note, the author's name comes first and in like the way that you would say it. So instead of in your bibliography where you have Thoreau, comma, Henry David, in your footnote, it's going to say Henry David Thoreau. I honestly, like, I have pretty good explanations for why these changes exist for the most part. I don't know why these particular changes exist. It's a mystery. Instead of having a period after the name, you're going to have a comma. And then most of the rest of it is the same. Walking in the Making of the American Essay, edited by this guy, right? You can abbreviate edited in this version. And then you're going to put the publication information in parentheses. I think the reason for doing this is that if you are adding a footnote, you are likely adding a specific page number, whereas in the bibliography, you're talking about the whole book. And so the last thing you want people to see is the date that it was published, because that's going to tell your reader whether it's a primary or a secondary source. But in this case, you want to look at the specific page. So in my research paper, and I think the easiest way to do this is just kind of copy and paste and then do a little cleanup. So I'm just going to copy my citation here. So copy. I'm going to then find where I want to put this citation, right? So I'm going to delete my little note to myself, which I like to highlight in yellow just to kind of keep track of it, and find the end of my quote here, right? Okay, I missed a closed quotation mark there. So as soon as I found the end of my quote, this is where I want to put my little footnote information. So I leave my cursor here, and then I'm going to go up to the insert menu at the top of Google Docs and just find footnote. You can also do quick keys. So once you're kind of comfortable doing this, you're welcome to do it that method as well. So I hit footnote, and then you'll see that immediately this little thing emerges for me at the bottom of my page. And this is where I'm going to put my information. So I'm going to start by just pasting the information from my bibliography. And then I just have to clean it up a little bit. So the quote that I'm using there, and I've made a note to myself that Stephen Meyer is the person I'm talking about. In my annotated bib, I have a note that this particular chapter is the one that I really want to use. So I'm also just going to kind of copy and paste this. So I've copied, sorry, moving too quickly. So I've copied this little information about the name of the chapter, the page number, the author's name of this particular chapter, and then I'm going back to my footnote. And so I want to, it's going to look like a mess, bear with me. So I'm just going to paste that information in there. And then I just have to clean it up. So Stephen Meyer is going to come first, right? It's because it's a bibliographic note, just goes in like Stephen Meyer. This goes in parentheses or in quotation marks, right? Because that's the name of the article. In, and then I'm just going to move this down here. If you highlight something and then click it and drag, you can just move the whole phrase. You don't even have to copy and paste. So he's the editor. Here's my publication information. And then I'm going to put 29 at the end because that is my page number. If you just watched all of that and you're like, what is even happening right now? Just to review where your information is going to come from. You should have an annotated bibliography, even if it's just a list of URLs at this point. This might be the right moment to start turning that more into full bibliographic citations with some notes to yourself of maybe how you want to use that. Particularly if you're using like a book that has multiple chapters in it or multiple contributors, that this can be a really helpful place to do that. But even if you're just using like a website, and again, I'm noticing that I need to fix my indent here. See, once you do it once or twice, you're going to get so used to doing it. Also, like you can indent this more if you want to. Like if you want to drag this guy all the way over to like 0.5, that's fine as well. As long as you're consistent about it throughout your whole paper, it doesn't matter to me. Consistency is often the name of the game when it comes to citations. So if you want to do a website instead, same thing. You're just going to kind of take the information that you have in here. And in this case, this is a journal article that I found online, right? This is through Gale in Context, which did not exist when I wrote my paper the first time around, but I did want to practice just hitting the cite button and putting this in an annotated bibliography. And then I'm just going to check the notes and bibliographic style on here. This would be a journal article. And so again, just kind of looking at, okay, I've got the author's name, the name of the article, the name of the journal, and then the website if it's there. This website, the Chicago Manual of Style.org, the quick guide is really, you're just matching things up, right? Have I put the parentheses in the right place? Have I put the periods in the right place? And all I'm looking for from you is a good faith effort to do this, okay? Worst case scenario, if you take your notes from the citation, if you take your citation and just paste it directly in here because you're panicking and you're not sure if you're doing it right because we've never really gone over this together in class, you've just watched this video and it's Friday the 25th and this thing is due, I get it. So just wherever you are in your document, right? You've got a quote here. You want to add your footnote, insert footnote, and just paste where your information came from. It's fine. It is fine. If you don't have an annotated bibliography yet, or if you don't have a list of sources yet, that might be the thing to work on first, or do both, right? You can kind of go back and forth. Let's say you write a little bit in here and you realize, oh, I really need to go and make sure that I have the sources that I'm using for that section of my paper reflected in my bibliography. It's fine. You can do that. You can move back and forth. There's nothing that says that you have to complete your paper first and then do your bibliography. There's nothing that says that you have to create your bibliography first and then write your paper. Like all things in research, you can kind of move back and forth as you need to. Let me know if you need help or if you have any questions about how to do this. Good luck.